say Jessica Taylor Byers. So you're good.
Okay,
Yeah.
easy. Well, I'll just do a little intro real fast.
'Kay.
So, hi guys, welcome. We are at the Western Hunt Expo, and this is day 3 of the Western Hunt Expo. And this morning at the Eastman's Hunting podcast booth, we are with Jess Byers from Montana Knife Company. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me on.
Of
it's
course.
nice that we could work it out. It's
Yeah.
a quick trip for me, but
Yeah.
glad we could catch
Dude,
up and touch base. And
I know.
I haven't even told you, and this is not intentional, but you look you look great. I know.
Thanks.
I know, like, it's been a journey, and I'm just so proud of you. Like, it's been really cool to watch you navigate mom life.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely tough, and I think until you go through it, you don't like really fully understand like what your body goes through. But it's been a fun journey, so thank you for that.
I just think it's awesome too that in every stage that I've seen you, you've carried confidence, and I think that's, like, people say it's the best accessory, and I think that you're a perfect example of that. Like, loving yourself through every stage has been really cool. And I'm not, like, we're not close, but it's been really cool to watch from afar because I think that's something people don't talk about a lot. So
Thank you.
yeah.
That's very sweet. Well, this is not about me. This is about you. So I want to dive into you because I've looked up to you a lot over the last couple years.
Thank you.
I mean, obviously what we see is over social, but every time I've seen you, you're always just kind and caring to everybody that you meet. You have the biggest smile. So let's dive into a little bit about your background, where you grew up, and then kind of how you've transitioned to where you are now, which is Montana Knife Company. And is it brand relations?
Brand relations manager. Yeah.
Yeah. So give me a little bit of your story.
Oh gosh. I'll try to summarize it and we can dive into certain parts. So born and raised in Texas. I grew up, Central Texas, an hour north of Austin. Grew up around the outdoors. My dad he had all girls, and so he always had us involved and outside, and what he calls is, like, he planted the seed that we would always come back to eventually, to love the outdoors. So I say that because looking at social media, it's like, yeah, I've hunted most of my life, but really and truly I didn't get behind a weapon until later in, like, late middle school. Going into high school, I just wasn't ready, and he waited for that perfect opportunity. And that's pivotal, I think, in how people are introduced to the outdoors, and it is a huge reason of why I am where I am today.
Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit, he introduced me to rifle hunting in Texas. I kind of cut my teeth on whitetail hunting and pigs and coyotes and things like that. And then I met my husband, and he put a bow in my hand. So within 6 months of meeting him, he surprised me with a bow. And that's where, like, I don't know, everything came alive for me, like, to be that close to animals. I just found this, like, burning passion to, like, I don't know, you can't really master bow hunting, and I'm so far from that, but just dive in and learn everything that I could. And then I started writing about my adventures. So going to school, I had a graphic design degree, and I kind of used that to brand what I came up with, which was Follow Her Arrow. And that's
super cute and very clever.
So it was right around the time that Casey Musgrave's song came out, Follow Your Arrow Wherever It Points. And it's the first domain I searched, and it was available, and I just went with it. Like, there was no, like, long, researching and ideas. It was just like, yep, that's it, branded it, went with it. And it was just a place to really bring women in and hear the transparent side of hunting. Because if you just looked at the time, but now there's so many women that are wonderful examples, but at the time, all I ever saw was just, like, the success stories. And you start to compare yourself because it's just natural as humans to compare yourself. Like, it's inevitable and at some point in your life. And I'm like, man, I'm, like, missing animals, or, like, I didn't hit one that good. And it's really hard on you, like, mentally. And then I realized in person when I met people, like, oh no, that's just part of bow hunting. And you grieve and you go through, like, the ups and downs of it, and then you bounce back. And that's just what keeps you coming back. And so I wanted to be that place of, let's talk about the stuff that nobody wants to talk about. And I think that that's really what highlighted my brand, if you will. And so then I just started, like, making connections in the industry. And I I freelanced for a couple years and traveled around the world. Just really got to explore and hunt and experience some beautiful places. And then I wanted to settle down and find a team. And um, I was I was actually I, don't know, I feel inappropriate saying it at Eastman's podcast, but it is what it is. I worked for Hunt and Full for a little over 4 years, and then uh, ended up at Montana Knife Company about a year ago. Like in a few days, it'll be a year.
Yeah.
So that's a super fast forward, explanation of how I got to where I am. But um, yeah, I think trying to be as natural and honest with yourself and with others as possible is really why am where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's very true because, especially, and I hate saying this because I really don't like bringing it to a table, but it is true. Like being a female in the industry,
Yeah.
like, is a little bit different and a little bit harder and can be intimidating. But like, I think you're a really good example of showing the real and the raw, but also just being like feminine through it at the same time.
Yeah, that's challenging. This is a little bit more vulnerable, I guess, but I remember going through these moments of, you know, be yourself, but don't be, do what makes you feel comfortable and confident in the field. If that means, you had a little makeup on, okay, but then people would tear you apart. Okay, so it's like feel comfortable, but don't look too pretty, or don't do this, and it starts to mess with you a little bit. It was weird. It was a really hard thing to navigate in my 20s. Just like I'm 35 now. I'm a lot more. I know who I am now more than I did 10 years ago when I started this journey. But initially, it was just like I had a beauty shop in the beauty industry when I like really started my brand. I was not like hunting was just on the side, and I would just start writing about it, and it grew into something I didn't really think it would. Um, so that was truly balancing like the feminine and masculine energy.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I was had my own beauty business, making women feel, beautiful 10, 12, 14 hours a day just to squeeze in 3 to 4 day weekends to go hunt all weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a very big contrast, and they naturally would like bleed into each other. I'd find myself talking to women on my table about, how much I love bow hunting, and that I wanted to be a representation for other women who didn't feel like they could do it, but then being in the field and like going into full blown tomboy mode. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just weird, but I guess recognizing over the years that you can do both, and it doesn't really matter what you do. If people aren't going to like you, they're not going to like you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's been a
yeah,
really
at
hard
some
life
point,
lesson.
like, just do what you're gonna do because you're gonna have opinions out there.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about that transition because I think that's a really like pivotal moment. You were an esthetician, right? Esthetician or hair?
Yeah, it was like I just did lashes, but yeah, lash extensions. Yeah.
Still, you did lash extensions or esthetician.
Yeah.
And then you transferred. What's the word? Transitioned
Yeah.
into like working in the hunting industry.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think it's hard for people to be like, I can't work in an industry that's my passion because it's just like almost unobtainable. Like, how can you do both? So, what made you take the jump?
I vividly remember. So I'd started writing about my adventures again to just have. Writing's always been therapeutic for me. So when I was younger, I went to quite a bit of therapy, and my homework, or I guess if you will, was just write, like get everything on paper, work through your emotions, whatever, write about everything. And so it became like a free, like very freeing for me, very therapeutic for me. And till this day, I just love writing. I love creative writing, but I like sharing experiences and kind of like capturing them outside of just images. And so as I wrote about those and started hearing from women who were saying, I could never do that. I don't know how you do that. And it inspired me more. I'm like, no, you can do this because I am doing this. I'm like living proof. I remember the client that was on my table, and I was like, I think I'm gonna like try and turn this into a business. And she's like, well, what do you mean? How do you do that? I'm like, well, I'm already doing all these things and I'm using these products. And this is like pre-influencer days. This is before social media is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it seemed very unobtainable. What's the word?
Yeah. You guys
Just
know what it is.
yeah,
Whatever it
you know what I
is,
mean.
it's that.
That like it's not possible to make money in the outdoor industry with money just because you write and have this little social media page.
Mhm.
But I found that it's all relationship based. And the more I talked to these companies and I started using their products, it's like, well, loyalty does go a long way. And if you're capturing content and writing quality pieces in the process, like you can actually do something with that. So I just found myself compacting my clients more and more into less days so I could spend more days in the field. And I just loved it. I was like, think I'm gonna go for it. And ended up with enough contracts that I could let go of that business after 3 years and just do that. And obviously, I had the support of my husband too. But it was like it actually is doable. But I did that for a couple years, and I saw the writing on the wall of like what social media was becoming, and more importantly, from a business aspect, that there were just too many people and women, and particularly that were just doing everything for product alone. And I'm like, well, I'm an entrepreneur too. Like they're not going to pay me when they can get it for free or product only with through these other avenues, which are great examples in the industry. So that's when I was like, okay, I need to like plant my roots a little bit and actually get a job in this space. And yeah, shook the hand that moved me to Utah, and then 4 years later, I ended up moving to Montana. So
So did you move to Utah because of that job opportunity?
yeah,
Or where's your husband from? He's from Texas as well.
we're from the same town.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we went to competing high schools, but we were born and raised in the same town, and we just transferred to small little farm towns that were competitors.
Can I
So
ask you how you met?
yeah, uh, walking into a bar.
Oh,
um,
I love that.
yeah, so in Texas during the summer, there's these red dirt country. I call it, Texas country, but all throughout the summer we have Thursday night concerts, and then right after that, everybody goes to the dance hall down the street, and so you listen to music, and then you go dancing for the rest of the night. And it's always karaoke night on Thursdays, and me and my girlfriend always loved. We always had girls' nights, so I was on a girls' night, and with two of my best friends, and he was there, surprisingly, with some buddies after that. They were at the lake all day, and I always knew who he was. He didn't know who I was. I wasn't cool in high school, but he was like the high school jock, like in the movies. Broke all the records. He was quarterback and the shortstop. Blah blah blah. And all my friends thought he was hot, and I was just like, no, why? Like why? He's not a. Anyway, he ended up turning into a wonderful man, but back then he was a little shit, if I can say that.
You can say that.
So
You're good.
yeah, walked in and saw him talking to a mutual friend. And I was actually kind of rude. When I walked up behind my friend, I gave my buddy a hug. I'm like, what are you doing? And I peeked around and I saw Braxton. He's like, this is my buddy Braxton. And I cut him off. I said, Braxton Byers, I know exactly who you are.
Put that
And
boy in his place.
And then
I like
we've
it.
actually we've been together ever since. Literally since that night. I could tell he had changed a lot. He had a kid right out of high school. And I think when you have a little girl, it changes you. So I have a 16-year-old, almost 17-year-old stepdaughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And are you guys have a good relationship?
Yeah, she's wonderful. Yeah. She's in Texas full time. She flies up to see us. We fly to see her. She's an incredible kid. Has a great home base. Her mom is wonderful. Stepdad, she has a very supportive home base, and we're grateful for that. It's been, I think, an unusual, good relationship for as young of parents as we are. We've all been in her life since she was 4, and it's
Yeah.
just all she's ever really known. So
Does she hunt?
no,
That's okay.
and I don't think she ever will.
Okay.
But she can appreciate the outdoors. She's getting to where she really loves those quiet. She has 2 younger siblings with 1 on the way, and I think she just appreciates more and more those quiet times, like escape into the mountains with us, going
Yeah.
camping, things like that. She's getting to where she she really enjoys that part of it. And so much of hunting is that disconnect.
Yeah.
So who knows? But I'm not trying to push her. When she was younger, she was very interested. And in Texas, there's no age limit, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but it needed to be something that all of us as parents agreed on. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
That's okay.
So
I think it's like the biggest thing that's really important is that you don't push them.
yeah,
Because my dad didn't push me, and I like fell back into it. So I think like as a parent, providing the opportunity, and if they want to do it, then they'll do it, but not like pushing them to like make it a traumatic experience or anything like that. So,
yeah, yeah.
So a year ago, we were talking like literally around the corner, and you said that you were making a transition to Montana Knife Company. Can we talk about how you switched from Utah to Montana?
Absolutely. It was definitely not planned. I thought I was going to be in Utah for the foreseeable future. We had just bought a house. We bought a house in September, closed on 9/11 actually. And December 9th, I was in Hawaii with Rihanna Carey for her wedding. I was getting my makeup and hair done. And I got a text from Josh that just said, "Would you ever move to Montana?" And I just wrote back, "Damn it, Josh." And he wrote back, "Ha ha ha." And so he says,
Oh my gosh. Hi, we're recording. You come back later? No, it's okay. We're good. Yeah. Thank you.
we'll pick up in a minute. It's fine. Just
Yeah.
edit this out. This is part of it. Social awareness is hard.
Just gonna hold my mouth for a
Yeah,
second.
you're good. We can pick right back up. You'll never know.
I wonder if you can hear it. Like how bad it is if we talk. Oh, it's turned on. Don't turn it back on.
Yeah, you're good. So
You got a text. It
I
said-
got a text from Josh. He says, "Would you ever move to Montana?" And it's so weird because in that moment I thought, I don't even know what he wants me to do, but I know I'm going to say yes. I knew. I knew. I showed Rihanna. He actually said, "Between you and I," and I was like, "Rihanna," and she goes, same thing. She's like, "You have to do it. You have to do it." And there was like, literally didn't even know what the title of the position was. All I know is I believed there were only 2 other brands in the industry I would have gone to work for, would have left for, without like many details, and that was one of them. And I don't know, I think your gut tells you in that moment, like, so anyway, I just said, yeah. I said, I can't meet for a little while, but let's get together when I, get back. So I met them I met him and Brandon at Dallas Safari in Texas and had my interview there. Accepted the position the very next day. It was a Friday at DSC last year. But I told him I can't start until after trade show season because I'm not going to say I was the glue to my previous company's trade show circuit. That wouldn't be appropriate. I had a lot of hands on deck, but I definitely had a big part in it. I didn't want to leave them hanging.
At that time, you were kind of overseeing it
Yeah.
and guiding it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't want to, that's a big thing on your characters. You don't want to leave your team in the dust.
Yeah, and surprisingly, I just thought, man, he may not want me if I'm going to, like, make him wait, 2 months, basically. But he did. He's like, "No, I respect that. There's, it shows that you care." And I do. I care deeply about my previous team. So this show a year ago was my last show with that company. And a week later, I was living in Montana. So it's crazy. Obviously, you don't buy a house in that, in Utah thinking you're going to go anywhere.
Leave in
but
5 months. But it was 5 months or something
yeah,
like that?
5-6 months. And honestly, a portion of that was trade show season. So I wasn't home very much.
Mhm.
I didn't really get to enjoy it. And we had done a full remodel downstairs and everything. And, it's wild. Life takes these crazy turns that you don't expect. And it's been a great experience. Unlike, it's hard to wrap people's mind around what it's like to work at Montana Knife Company. And I mean that in the best way. It's just very fast paced, right? Like there's always something exciting going on. The culture is wonderful. It's probably my favorite part about working there is just people love what they do. in every single position. And honest, now my husband works there too. He just came on board a few weeks ago, and he's like, it's so cool to be around a team where every single person is so excited to be doing their job. Like,
Yeah.
and they're grinding. Like, nobody's. It's like they always say you're only as strong as your weakest link. It's like I couldn't even pick a weakest link on our team because
Yeah.
everybody, they're just superstars. Like, I'm so grateful to be a part of something this special.
Yeah. And typically I feel like just like an experience, if you do have that weak link and you have all these strong characters, though that weak link won't bring down, they'll kind of just break off
Yeah,
and fall out. They can't up if they can't rise up to the standard, then they usually kind of
they weed
go
themselves out.
yeah, they weed themselves out and go a separate way.
Yeah, for sure.
So explain a little bit more about like your like daily task or like what you kind of are doing as like what does it take to be like a brand relations manager?
Yeah, so
And it's a lot, and I'm asking a lot in like a really big thing, because I know it's still one of those things you probably wear a ton of hats.
yeah, and in a growing company, I mean, I have a rule anyways, but particularly in this company, like, you don't ever say that's not my job. You see something needs to be done, you jump on board and
Yeah,
you help your coworker. You're never too good to do anything, and I always want to be that. So initially when I came on board, yeah, brand relations is what I was hired for, and but a week before I came on board, they had let go of their events manager. No, not let go. I'm so sorry. That's not true. He went back to guiding, I think is what he did. He just decided it wasn't a good fit for him. So Josh says, "You have experience with events, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did events for my last company. I didn't know we had 15 that summer. So that was last summer was wild. But anyway, temporarily absorbed the events side of things. So the truth is, here we are almost a year later. I feel like I'm just now getting to do full time what I was hired for. So brand relations, an overview of what is expected. Um, Obviously, managing the relationships within the industry, kind of being that touch point for Josh and Brandon. Like, that's the CEO and the CMO. They can't answer text and phone calls all the time, but
well, to kind of have them get a little relief off their shoulders and kind of put a little bit of a barrier, so there's a little bit of like, hey, it's a little more business, like a little business
yeah,
process that goes through.
yeah, kind of a funnel.
Yeah,
Kind
funnel.
of like
That's
a way to present to them, like, here are some things that maybe we should consider, or what do we want to do here, and let me be the communication, the project management side of it. So on Brandon's side and like the marketing side, it's managing those brand to brand, like email lead generations, giveaways, secret drops, making sure that we're doing what we say we're going to do. They're doing what they say they're going to do, and just being that constant touch point, giving them the assets they need, obtaining assets that we need, putting it on the calendar, making sure we follow through, and reaching out to new relationships, but also managing our existing ones and making sure we don't forget about the people who were there when it was Josh making knives out at his first shop, what we call MKC 1.0, his little garage. So, and then another big part of it is managing the ambassadors. So you'll notice that we have collab knives with, Remy Warren, Cam Haynes, John Dudley, Aaron Snyder, Matt Pittman, the Bearded Butchers, and just taking care of those guys, like making sure that they have what they need from us, letting them know of some of, like, when their knives are about to drop, let them know, like, hey, this is coming up, and getting creative about it. And also capitalizing on opportunities, like at these shows, can we have a cool booth activation? Like, how do we make our booth the coolest booth at the show, type of thing? And then going to media events, taking on a lot of intro calls with people who might want to work with us or that we want to work with, just like feeling it out and starting those cold leads and turning them into like quality relationships, and just making sure everybody has like good feels about MKC. Yeah, it's kind of hard to like put it all. Like, I don't know.
yeah,
It's I feel like every day it could be something else, but brand relations stretches a long way, and I think that was intentional because they don't
yeah.
really know. They can't really put me in a funnel, and I like that. I get bored easily, so I like wearing a lot of hats. but I love being creative. So having the freedom to be creative and be like, well, what do y'all think about this? Or it's really cool, and I'm learning a lot. I'm being pushed a lot, um, out of my comfort zone is what I mean.
Yeah.
So and I like that.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, it's scary, but I like it.
Well, I'm proud of you. And honestly, anytime we ever talk to anybody, like there's no better, like there's not a more perfect person like for the job. I mean, I think
Thank you.
you like represent what the brand stands for, like inside and out, like in your actions and then like who you are to the core. So I think that they selected a great person to represent a brand because I think I mean, you've built your own brand within like Follow Her Arrow and everything. But then to hire somebody to represent how you want your company to look, I think is it's a big deal. Like to be the face of a company and like be respected. And I, I think a lot of people struggle with like, or don't realize like when you work for a company, you represent a lot like as an employee.
Yeah, that I think that's a little bit of the scary part too, because I have a lot of respect for Josh and Brandon as individuals, more than I've probably taken the time to tell them. Um, when people ask me, like when I first took the job, they're like, "What are you most excited about?" and I said it was to work alongside those two individuals. Granted, that it was them and Jess. They're the only three that I knew in the company, but like Brandon is brilliant and Josh is insanely talented. With like they're the perfect combination to bring something like this to life. And I just hold them to a very high standard. And so to represent them, that's I guess that's the kind of scary part in a way, but also, it's challenging. But I'm very grateful for the opportunity, to do that, and I know that I'll continue to grow as a human being led by those two. So it's a gift, and I don't take it lightly. I don't at all, and yeah, I'm very humbled by it.
Well, I'm very proud of you, and I think it's very fun to watch you. I know for sure I will have you on multiple times, so we can save some conversations for later,
Yeah.
so you can come back on. But I do have some rapid fire questions before we.
Oh gosh. Okay.
And it's
Okay.
all for fun. Like I told Jess yesterday, some of these are Chat GPT, so take them with a grain of salt.
Oh my gosh.
But they will
Okay.
be fun. Okay.
I overthink everything, by the way, so I'll
This is
try not
they're
to.
rapid fire. It's fine. And if
Okay.
it leads somewhere, it does. It's fine.
Okay.
Do you have a pre-hunt ritual or a good luck charm? No.
Not that I can think of.
Okay, that's okay.
I don't.
She's like, I just know I know it, and I'm gonna go in and just dominate. Good.
Yeah. So I do a lot of I guess mental preparation before hunts. I try to visualize my success because I try to visualize exactly how it's going to happen, and anytime my brain goes to like anything but success, I reroute it and rewire it back to. It's some of the therapy I've done before, because like I think it's natural to be worried and maybe let your mind go to like, well, what if I wound one, or what if I miss one? It's like, no, don't do that. Go
Yeah.
back to the beginning and walk through it until you are successful and you can visualize that success. So I guess I'd kind of do a little bit of that.
Yeah. Mental prep. I like it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite snack in the field?
I love a honey stinger. Aren't those what it's called?
The
Bee
like
stinger?
they're
The
like
waffles.
waffle things that have honey.
I love
Hey.
those. It's a burst of energy. Also the honey stinger energy chews. I always eat half of those when I'm like right before I go on a stalk, and I'll eat half or a full bag when I'm packing out.
Okay.
It's a great burst of energy.
Heck yeah.
I love those.
Honey Stingers. Sponsor her. Um,
Yes. Yes.
what is your spirit animal?
This shouldn't
Yeah.
be so hard. I know what my favorite animal is,
Okay,
but
what's your favorite
it's not my
animal?
spirit animal. My favorite animal is a moose.
Okay.
It's also
Have you hunted moose?
no, it's my highest bucket list. I've talked to a couple people here about booking a moose hunt.
Okay.
It's not on the books yet, but it is very high up on there. I wanted to go to Russia and shoot one this year, and Josh was like, you're not working for me and going to Russia. And he goes, and if you try to, I'm calling your dad. And I was like, oh my God. So no Russia this year, but I would have gone there and hunted moose for sure. Spirit animal. I'll have to think about that one.
Okay, think about that one.
Okay.
What is your favorite hunt and why? And you've got a big roster, so
Yeah, I would say tar hunt in New Zealand.
okay.
I was with Rihanna Carey, and so New Zealand is the most beautiful place I've ever been. Hunting or not hunting, most beautiful place I've ever been in my life. When you're on top of the mountain, it's like every way that you look is just straight out. It looks fake. It's insanely gorgeous. And then I was there with Rihanna, and we trauma bonded. We were both going through some hell in our personal lives, and I didn't really know her we didn't really know each other. We had spent 2 weeks in Australia hunting with the green trees and just hit it off. And she had the time off, and I was like, "You want to go to New Zealand with me?" Because I was going by myself. She's like, "Yeah," and she rerouted her flights and came with me, and we went tar and chamois. They say chamois, but I think that most people say chamois. I don't know. In New Zealand, they call it chamois hunting. And we both shot. I shot a tar. She shot a chamois, and I just the experiences on the mountain with her. We got rescued by a hovering helicopter. We had to jump in the helicopter off the mountain, and we just had some like crazy experiences that bonded us for life. Like that's
Yeah.
my girl. Yeah, I
I
love
love
her.
it.
I love Ree so much. So there's a lot of layers of why, but New Zealand for sure.
Okay. I was going to say, do you have any near death experiences in the field? And this question came from somebody at the show.
I wouldn't call it near death, but if like it's the closest thing was when we had to get they had to come get us off the mountain in New Zealand. Yeah.
Okay.
Just because the weather was moving in. And if we would have got stuck there, we didn't have enough food. We would have been in there a week. We didn't know where our guides were on the other side of the mountain. It was just a little scary. And the pilot was like, I shouldn't be flying in this. Like, we got to get out of here type of thing. That was a little scary. Like, we both, when we got in the helicopter, we like hugged each other and bawled.
Yeah.
Because she was like, I thought I was going to die. And I was like, I mean, I guess I hadn't let my mind go that far. But if I had to choose something that was potential, like,
I think when you're in the moment too, you're just like in kind of survival mode. So you don't really think about that. Like it's not an option.
yeah,
But then when you look back at the experience, you're like, oh shit, like that was actually really bad.
it could have easily turned really bad really fast. But
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like make it more dramatic than it
Yeah.
was. That would be the one. And then otherwise, like, no, just running out of water way too early and like when it's triple digits and you're like getting dizzy. That
Yeah.
kind of that's happened mostly one time mostly. But I knew I'd be fine. Like I could get to water. It
Yeah.
just it's really getting dehydrated and getting like kind of loopy is just scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When your body starts to just not be in your normal like
Yeah.
cycle.
Yeah.
What was the hardest thing about moving to Montana?
I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry.
You don't have to cry. You can even just say weather if it
Uh,
because you're a Texas girl and I'm a Texas girl. So to me, it would definitely be weather. But
no, moving further away from my dad.
okay. Are you really close with your dad?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does he come and see you?
He did just surprise me for my 35th birthday. He the night before he called me and he said, "Do you have any plans?" I was like, "No." And he was like, "Where's Braxton?" I was like, "Oh, he's working a show in Nashville." And we got off the phone and he booked a flight and
Oh, I saw that.
surprised me. He texted me the next day because he kind of knew my schedule. I never even thought about like, why are you asking me these questions? And he's like, I said, "I don't have any plans. I'm just going home. I'm taking a hot bath and gonna chill." And he says, "Okay, well, that day on my birthday, he texts me. He says, 'You have a cookie delivery at your door.'" And I get out of the bath. I throw my robe on, and he's like, and then I hear knock knock, and I heard it was his voice. He was hand delivering a box of homegrown beef. He grows his own cattle, and I mostly only eat his beef, and a big box of crumble cookies. And he showed up on my doorstep for my 35th birthday, and stayed 24 hours. We puzzled till midnight. I love puzzling, and then got to show him the new MKC 3.0 job site. Danced in my living room. He's always been he's the best dancer ever. He taught me how to two-step when I was young, and I just loved dancing with him. And then he jumped back on a plane, went home. So I miss him a lot. I mean, I miss all my family, but that's been hard. He doesn't like flying, so the further away I go, the further away I am
Yeah.
from him. So yeah,
Yeah.
not to get emotional.
It's okay. It's okay. It's really sweet. Did you ever have a "this is my actual job" moment?
Like my like purpose. When you say this is my actual job.
I don't know. It's what ChatGPT said. So
Oh.
it was like, I guess the idea is like, have you ever just sat there and been like, holy crap, like this is what I do for a living? Like you can be
Oh,
back
like
to your blog.
like
Or
a
it can go,
surreal moment.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Mm. I have not with MKC yet, but it's very beginner stages. But anytime I've gotten to go on, I've had like I love going on the media like industry media trips and getting to like just be surrounded by amazing. I guess I did kind of have one with MKC last year. So it was with at the Leopold Media event, and I was just surrounded by incredible humans, and we were just. I did have. I don't know. It's not like there's not a lot to it to describe why that was so cool, but it was like a long range shooting class surrounded with just it was Chad Mendez and Taylor Drury or Taylor Land, and just a handful of like really good humans and just there to connect and yeah, I don't know. I don't really. I'm overthinking all these questions because I like if you give me 10 minutes to answer, and I don't do good with rapid fire because I'm much a very.
I feel like you're a writer. So
I'm a writer.
you're like, you're taking like the writing process to answer the question.
Yeah, I guess anytime I'm surrounded with really good people, um, and the
And it doesn't have
energy's
to be one
good.
moment. I feel like you might be one of those people, and sometimes it's just a situation where it's not like a one moment thing, or it's just like a kind of continual gratitude of just like, I don't know, you know?
Yeah, I'm trying to
Okay,
think.
it's okay.
I'm terrible at
You're
this. I told you I was
good.
like when you said rapid fire, I'm like,
Okay,
oh hell.
I know these ones, some of them are a little bit deep, so I guess it just would depend. What's your secret hidden talent that's completely useless but hilarious?
I'm damn good at puzzles, and it's useless. Nobody's gonna. I told my sister I was like, you know how people have like spelling contests, memory contests. I'm like, I wish there were puzzle contests. She and I love me and my dad and my sister love puzzles, and I've asked a couple people to puzzle with me, like back at home. I think I just am kind of like
Your problem solver. You like to
I'm on an
figure it out.
island, man. I'm like nobody else wants. I will stay up all night long doing a puzzle. I don't
Okay.
know why.
I love
I don't
it.
know why that is so much fun to me, but it is.
Fun thing. Okay. If you had $1 for every time you heard someone ask, when will this knife be back in stock? What would
Oh,
you buy?
a moose hunt. Hell yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll start the piggy bank and then have Josh take you on a moose hunt.
Yeah, because they're freaking expensive. I'm like, who has $35,000 to
Drop on
go?
a moose.
Yeah, I
One
mean,
hunt.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can do DIY, but I'm not packing out a moose by myself.
Yeah.
I gotta have a little posse of people who want to pack.
Yeah, my cousin did that, and I'm like, all power to you.
Yeah.
But now, especially being a mom, I do not think I could do it.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's a fun one. If your suitcase could talk, what's the most embarrassing story that it would tell?
I can't tell this.
Don't say it.
I
Don't
mean,
say
I
it.
can.
It's okay.
I'm an open book. Listen, I'll say it, but it might embarrass you. It might embarrass Eastman's too, quite honestly. But I'll freaking say it. You may tell you, and then you can cut it if you want.
I'm only going to do what you feel comfortable with.
Okay, this is embarrassing. I'm gonna say this a little bit lighter. Okay, this just happened. This just happened a few weeks ago. I was going through the TSA,
Okay.
and they decided they're gonna check my stuff. My stuff never goes to get gone through, for them to go through it. And he opens it up, and it got flagged because I have this deodorant that's like, it looks like a crystal, like a clear crystal. It's basically just like minerals that you put on your clean skin right when you get out of the out of the shower. Instead of, I don't like wearing deodorant all the time,
'Kay.
but like when I sleep. So I only wear it when I get up. So I put this on when I sleep, and then when I get up, I put on deodorant. But it looks kind of funny because it's just like a mineral block. So,
I'm so
oh
nervous.
my God, I'm going to turn so red. So
You don't have to say it if you
no,
don't
it's
feel
fine.
comfortable.
I don't
Okay.
care. I just want other people around. I mean, I'm just saying it on a podcast. Whatever. We're all girls. So he pulls this out of my bathroom bag, and stuck to it is a panty liner. And I was like, and he goes, okay. And I was like, I am so sorry. Because the sticky back had come off and stuck to the side of it. And he pulls it out, and I'm like looking around, like, is anybody here looking at this right now? That's probably what my suitcase would tell everybody to make fun of me. But that's the first thing that came to my mind.
I
So,
love it.
I was mortified. But there
It's
you go.
okay. I'll tell you mine, so
Okay.
it's not as bad. But
Okay.
actually, that one's pretty funny. But I was going to DSC. It was right before I got hired with Black Rifle, and it kind of is a really long story. But really long story. Doesn't matter. I'll say it real fast. Okay. So I went to DSC. It's actually the one that I met you at with Kendall.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was at Salt Lake City Airport. Those escalators to go to B Gate are so long.
Yeah.
Okay. So imagine a super long escalator. I get to the top. You get to the top, adjust my little bag. I had to go to fix my jacket and my backpack, had my coffee. All of a sudden, my suitcase rolls off the edge, falls over, darts down
All the way down.
the longest. The guys on the elevator jump over it. It hits one girl, and then at the end, a little old lady is going. She's going to step off, and it takes her out from underneath the legs.
Oh no.
I was sprinting down. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, I'm like in tears. My suitcase takes out this old lady, breaks my suitcase. So my suitcase is all broken open for the rest of the flight. Go to DSC. I was like, it's fine. I was so embarrassed.
That's hilarious.
But then it got even worse because my mom's like, here, just take your brother's suitcase home with you because mine had broken.
Yeah.
Then I get to the airport with my brother's suitcase, and I get pulled over at TSA because there was a gun in there. And thank God it was just an airsoft gun. But they, shut that thing down like Monsters, Inc., where they're like, 2419, 2419. And then they,
yeah.
Yeah, and it was the scariest moment of your life because I was like, I'm a good gun owner. I follow the rules.
Yep.
I was like, I know my steps. I was like, I don't know. And it was like tucked underneath a secret pocket of it was like a Beretta suitcase. So it had like the secret component. And thank God it was an airsoft gun because I don't know what else I would have done.
Well,
But
Rihanna, that happened to Rihanna. She took a pistol through and forgot that it was in her bag. And she got she couldn't have the TSA pre-check for I think 5 years, maybe longer. So she was put on this banned list to never get that clearance again.
it's so scary.
She's
I mean,
what the heck? I'm the same thing. She's a great, good gun owner, doesn't abuse the system by any means. And anyway,
yeah. So it was kind of like two back-to-backs
yeah,
where I
that was a rough
dropped
day.
my suitcase off at the top of the escalator. It darts down, and that thing took up speed, took out an old lady, and then, yeah, it was pretty bad. Nothing like
funny.
pulling out a pad out of you.
Oh my God, I was so embarrassed.
Okay, this is the final question. What advice would you give somebody working in the industry?
To not burn bridges. The way that people jump around from brand to brand, I cannot stress this enough. The person, you may not enjoy working with someone that much. You may have had a bad experience, but that person could be going and working for the brand of your dreams that it's the one brand that you want to work with, but because of how you treated or represented yourself in this other space or towards the other company they used to work for, it's all relationships, right? So that person goes to the next company and you're like, well, crap, I'm not going to approach them because I know it didn't end well the last place that they worked. learning to be a little bit of a chameleon, not to be fake, but a little bit of a chameleon, to be able to walk into any room and adjust to that room, whether it's black ties or camo. Represent yourself in a way that is kind and professional. And um, I haven't experienced, like, I haven't had a bad experience with that from like me wanting to work with somebody, because thankfully, I haven't burned any bridges. But the amount of people who want to work with MKC who like have and I say the amount of people, like we're talking less than 10 people, but I remember those people who didn't treat me well
Yeah.
previously. So now I'm like, I mean, I would never be ugly to them, but I know like they want to work with MKC, but they bounce around, or they do have the audacity to approach me, and I'm like, it's just kind of taints it when you treat people poorly. So just remembering that it's not worth burning bridges. This industry is very, very small, and word travels fast. And you always want to be known as someone that was enjoyable to work with, kind, and to care about others more than you care about yourself and your own success. Like, that's the only reason I'm here, right? It's like I love building relationships. And you're not going to be close to everybody. You may not like mesh with everybody, but you can be kind. It doesn't cost anything to be kind.
Yeah. Well, girl, I really appreciate it. I think you are a huge example and a huge role model, not in just this industry, but just like what it means to be a woman.
Thank you.
Which now we can say. Just kidding. It's a little low. It's fine.
2025. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, thank you for at least being my example and showing me that it's okay to be both and be feminine and also be in this industry. I mean, I was raised in it, but it's also different when you choose to become a part of it. So,
Yeah.
thank you. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
And
Thanks for
supporting me.
having me. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
I loved it. We're going to have you back on. Don't worry.
Okay.
Okay.